I'd like to welcome you to this first effort of ours at an India-China Media Forum. Those of you who are perhaps not aware of the background, let me try and summarize this and say that this is an effort that has been in the making for some time, but it gathered momentum when External Affairs Minister Mr. Salman Khurshid had discussions with his Chinese counterpart earlier this year. And the idea was to provide a platform of the media and so that they can interact directly between themselves. So what we've done is to provide that platform. The rest is for the representatives of the Indian and the Chinese media to take this further. As the Chinese saying goes, of a good beginning cometh a good end. So as a good beginning, when the Chinese delegation arrived here, we decided we start with the best that India can offer, and that is visit to the Taj Mahal. We hope that with that good beginning, we provided a platform for all of you to interact, and we look forward to this evening for the end product. I'm particularly grateful to our Chinese colleagues who have been able to get together a team of media representatives which represents virtually every section of the Chinese media. For our part, it was a difficult choice. We have more than 90,000 Indian publications, almost 800 Indian TV channels, and the social media is as vigorous as that in China. And so it was a difficult decision, but we did manage to bring a representative group of Indian media representatives here. I don't want to take much of your time, but only to set the ball rolling, I'll request External Affairs Minister Shri Salman Khurshid to deliver his inaugural address, because he was somebody who started this process, and I'm grateful for him for being here today and kicking off, so to say, this process in its actuality. External Affairs Minister.
Good morning to all of you. I have the great honor, the presence of His Excellency the Minister Siming Jav, His Excellency the Vice Minister Zhou Mingwei, distinguished friends from the Chinese media and Indian media, ladies and gentlemen. I have a written speech, but I thought it is important for us to say something from the heart to our Chinese friends, communicate something which we believe is extremely important for two major countries of Asia and the world. We find ourselves speaking often of the 21st century being the Asian century. And it is our firm belief that the Asian century dream will remain unfulfilled if India and China are unable to find congruence on important ways in which we think on global issues, and we know how to communicate effectively from the heart and the head about our dreams with you and your dreams with us. I take it on board the Chinese saying we are living in interesting times is indeed critical for our understanding of the effort that we are trying to put in towards making Asian century truly a successful century. I have, in my few months as in the External Affairs, emphasized in the formatting and formulation of foreign policy the very important role that language plays in diplomacy. And therefore, it's important for us to work on a common language. A common language is not a hybrid of the Chinese and Indian languages, of Mandarin and of Hindi or any other Indian language, But a common language is something that, even if not spoken, communicates, because it's the ideas that converge. Ideas have a language of their own. And I wish and hope that our conclave here of the media on two sides will be able to provide a bond and link of ideas that would translate themselves into a common language. We know that historically and culturally, we have a very, very significant link in the Mahabharata itself. There are, I understand, at least 7 references to China. I also know that in our understanding of Islamic philosophy, China is seen as a destination in search of knowledge and connectivity with the world. The spread of Buddhism that we all know, and I've just traveled through parts of the neighborhood countries of China where Buddhism retains a distant echo even after enormous changes having taken place civilizationally in those countries, in Central Asia, in Southeast Asia. And of course, I know that it remains a significantly important cultural and spiritual presence in China. 35,000 words of Pali and Sanskrit origin, I understand, have been found by scholars in the Mandarin language. When we speak of historical links, the travels of scholars and intellectuals, Chinese itinerant scholars like Hyun-Sang and Fa-Hin studied at the ancient Nalanda University. And the good news is that we will together, China and India, along with other colleagues in ASEAN, are now working on re-establishing and reviving the centuries-old university in Bodh Gaya, in Nalanda. The 20th century, our links have inevitably been of a very significant nature. From the Indian side, Mahatma Gandhi, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, and Jawaharlal Nehru helped create a soaring vision of India that incorporated our relationship with China. Over the years, we sit here in a building that amplifies and symbolizes the Panchsheel, or the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, which continue to be the basic framework of our relationship, even as the peaceful and harmonious coexistence that we have known for over 4,000 years, but for a short interlude that both of us feel must become quickly a part of history as we look forward to significant cooperation between us. It is a fact that we still have an undefined boundary, and therefore differences in perception, something that appears from time to time to become an insurmountable problem. But we know, deep in our hearts, we know that not only is this not an insurmountable problem, but also that both of us are completely and totally committed to eradication and removal of these irritants in a relationship that is significantly valuable to both of us, and which we believe matters enormously in the years to come to the way the world will be shaped. And therefore, as I said, language becomes important, language to reach out to each other, clear cobwebs of misconceptions, misunderstandings of the past, the present, and even of the future. As we do this exercise, I have in mind the Chinese involvement that we encourage, that we welcome, and that we seek for working more closely in infrastructure in our country. We are looking for, at the same time, greater market access in China for our pharma and the IT companies, to provide a more balanced trade between our two countries. But a matter that was treated as of high importance during the visit of Premier Li But we hope that even as we work on balancing of trade, investments will significantly compensate to some extent the importance of sustainable balanced trade. All this, we believe, is important in the backdrop of not only our economic engagement, but also our working together on many, many regional and global issues, and much closer cooperation and collaboration. And I do believe that this is happening in a substantive way in many areas, such as global trade regimes as well as climate change. So the important thing is for us to understand what will be our relationship. Will we see ourselves only in an artificial construct of rivals and competitors, or will we see ourselves possibly in a multi-dimensional role with each other, collaborating, cooperating, competing, assisting, sharing, and, if I might add an important word, caring for each other. Our Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, as you will recall, has said on many occasions, there's enough room in the world for India and China to grow together and to flourish. And this, in fact, I think echoes the Chinese notion of a harmonious world. Shiji Dathong, a synthesis which goes well with the concept of one world enshrined in the Indian ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So we, therefore, speaking of language, our connectivity, our shared goals and our shared aspirations, it becomes important. The speaking voice of our two countries, the media that we cherish and value enormously in our country as a pillar of strength to our democracy, not always necessarily in agreement with government, but that's the beauty of having 1,000 voices express one strong sentiment of solidarity and patriotic zeal. But we do hope that this interaction here will help in developing constructive reporting and analysis methodology through better understanding of each other's working systems, of each other's, if I may go back again, language. Independence of the media for us has been an extremely important dimension of Indian democracy. And independence, of course, comes both with rights and obligations, something that applies to all citizens of our country. And to what is the balance that we find within our own system is something that I'm sure that you will find interesting, coming directly from the very people who are the purveyors of that balance. Having said this, I would say that there are, and there will remain periodically, between us, as trust and ability to understand each other better continues to deepen and widen, and the footprint of our work together grows in the world, there will be moments of hypersensitivity, sensitivity, and moments where we need critical care in conveying what we believe is important for us respectively. And I do urge colleagues on both sides to look at whether there is permissible within our system some methodology that allows for a larger national interest, and here a transnational interest, to prevail over a desire to report more aggressively and to report more extensively. But this is really not something that can be dictated. This is not something that can be normatively imposed. This is something that only can come from within our systems, respective systems, our understanding, our cultural ethos, and of course our professional training. Finally, if I might just bring in something that I'm sure is of great interest to the conventional media on our side and certainly on your side, and that's something that we are still learning about, something that we're still learning to deal with, and that's social media. Social media that comes really in a form which is unlike anything that we have known in the past in terms of governance, in terms of decision making, in terms of influence on public policy. We are still learning, and I'm sure that your experiences with social media will also be very edifying and educative for us. If I might quote the Chinese Indologist Ji Jianlin, whom India recognized by conferring the award of Padma Bhushan National Award, and I quote, "China and India have stood simultaneously on the Asian continent. Their neighborliness is created by heaven and constructed by earth." We don't know much about heaven. We are happy to learn from you about heaven. But being earthlings, we need to talk more and know each other better to fructify the full potential of this relationship between our two countries. I wish you all the best in your discussions and hope to hear from you at the end of the day of the ideas that you have together suggest for our moving forward with greater strength, greater joy, and greater creativity. Thank you very much.
May I now request Minister Tsai Ming-Jiao to make his inaugural statement.
尊敬的库尔西的外长，中印两国新闻界的朋友们，女士们、先生们，大家上午好。首先，我要感谢库尔西德外长刚才演讲中表达的友好之情。我也很高兴这次来到新德里出席首届中印媒体高峰论坛。借此机会，我代表国务院新闻办公室向这次论坛顺利举办表示衷心的祝贺。今年5月份，中国总理李克强阁下对印度进行了正式友好访问，这是他担任新一届政府总理之后出访的第一个国家，充分表明了中国新一届政府对中印关系的高度重视。在访问期间，李克强总理和辛格总理签署了一系列的合作协议，发表了联合声明，为两国关系的未来发展做出了规划。在李克强总理访印期间，中印两国的媒体给予了极大的关注和热情的报道。李克强总理特意要我转达他对中印两国媒体朋友们的衷心谢意。我们举办这次中印媒体高峰论坛，就是落实李克强总理访问的成果，深化中印人文交流的一个具体举措。我相信这次论坛将进一步加深两国媒体之间的了解，拓展合作的空间，推动中印两国新闻界的交流和合作迈向更高的水平。
Just like you, I'm also a media professional. I used to work for a very long time with Xinhua News Agency and People's Daily, the two most famous media in China, for more than 20 years. I fully understand that the nature of journalism is to pursue new development and changes and report progresses of the times. There are no two other countries like China and India. And I believe if you look at the progresses in the world, in fact, The two countries, China and India, with a population of more than 1 billion respectively, have achieved very rapid growth in the past few decades. This is an unprecedented historic event. And this event is something both Chinese and Indian media people should cover with great enthusiasm. The fact that the two countries are developing simultaneously illustrates the fact that the world is big enough for us to develop at the same time. It also suggests that we have each found a development path that suits our respective national conditions. We should walk hand in hand to continue along the path that suit our own national conditions. Since China and India established diplomatic ties more than 60 years ago, the relations between the two countries have been growing soundly and comprehensively. Our mutual strategic trust has been gradually enhanced. Our bilateral ties have become more resilient to disturbances. Our two countries' interests have become more intertwined. The strategic economic dialogue and other mechanisms have become more well established. The areas of pragmatic cooperation continue to expand. Cultural exchanges keep growing. Friendship between the two peoples have deepened, and the two countries have often worked together in international and regional affairs to safeguard common interests. Looking to the future, China-India relations have great potential for growth. As close neighbors and partners, friendly and pragmatic cooperation between China and India is in the fundamental interests of both nations. It is also a blessing for Asia and the world. Mr. Khurshid, during his welcome speech, talked about Xuan Zhang's visit to India in the Tang Dynasty. I was born in a coastal city in northern China, Lianyungang City. The story of Xuan Zhang's visit to India was turned into a very popular novel by Mr. Wu Chengwen with the name of A Journey to the West. And Mr. Wu Chengwen, in fact, during his writing of his The Journey to the West, based the setting of the novel, part of the setting, in a mountain of flowers and fruits in Lianyungang. This is a very beautiful mountain where there are a lot of fruit trees and flowers. And the Monkey King, born from this mountain, protected Xuan Zhang during his journey to the West, successfully making it back to China. So as a child, I was already very familiar with this Journey to the West by Mr. Xuan Zhang. And thanks to this story, we were able to understand the long cultural links and historical links between the two countries, even when we were kids. We could see that we have a lot of examples of the exchanges between Chinese and Indian people. Tagore is a well-known figure both in China and in India. And in fact, one of his students came from China. It is said that he is Tagore's only Chinese student. His name is Wei Fenjiang. 80 years ago, the 22-year-old Wei arrived in India, becoming the first modern Chinese scholar to study Indian history and literature in India. In 1939, after Wei's return to China, Wei authored and translated many books to introduce the Indian culture and history to the Chinese people. After Wei passed away, a statue of him was built in Zhejiang Yueshou Foreign Languages Institute in Shaoxing City, where he once worked, to commemorate his important contribution to China and India cultural exchanges. Since the 1920s, a large number of famous Chinese scholars have actively contributed to friendly exchanges between the Chinese and Indian people. A few names would include Mr. Ji Xianling, who Mr. Koshid mentioned. Other names would include Cai Yuanpei, Zheng Zhenduo, Xu Beihuo, Tan Yunshan, as well as other household names in China. Meanwhile, many famous Indian scholars have studied China and promoted bilateral exchanges between China and India. These scholars include Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, Raj Hakrishan Manik, Nayak, and Kamo Shil. The seeds of friendship they sowed have now grown into exuberant tall trees. Media is an important tool to disseminate information, transmit culture, and bridge different civilizations. They serve as a bridge to enhance understanding between the people and to foster friendship. In recent years, Chinese and Indian media have played a unique and positive role in maintaining and consolidating strategic cooperative partnership between the two countries. We're seeing exchanges between executives of mainstream media, which are becoming more and more frequent, and so are those between media professionals. Forums, seminars, and dialogues have promoted communication between Chinese and Indian media, which significantly contributed to the development of bilateral relations and enriched the comprehensive bilateral cooperation between two countries. They also strengthened the strategic partnership between two countries. Nevertheless, for some reasons, Chinese and Indian media still do not have sufficient understanding of each other's country. We still cannot fully reflect the current status of the friendly bilateral relations and still cannot meet the two people's demand for information about the other country. That is why I would like to take this opportunity to make the following proposals. First, I sincerely hope that this forum would become a long-term institutionalized platform for media exchanges. This forum, I suggest, could be held every year in turn in India and China. Press officials and representatives of the two governments and executives of major media institutions can talk about issues of common interests. It is necessary for Chinese and Indian media to engage in long-term and frequent dialogues and communication, pushing us to see each other rationally and objectively so that we can present a real China and a real India to our domestic audience. In this way, we're able to promote the healthy development of bilateral relations. Second, I hope that we could continue to strengthen pragmatic media cooperation between two countries. Currently, China and India have altogether about around 20 reporters stationed in the other country. This, I believe, is inadequate given the two countries' population, as well as the importance of the two countries' relations. Obviously, these reporters are not enough to meet the two people's demand for information about each other. That's why I sincerely hope that media from two countries should promote extensive cooperation, mutual visits, article exchanges, and joint interviews. I hope that they could gradually station more reporters in each other's country, or send more reporters to each other's country to conduct interviews, cover news events, meet local residents in order to gather real, fresh, and first-hand information. We, at the State Council Information Office of the PRC, is willing to provide assistance to journalists from Indian media to cover news events in China. Third, media of both countries should help maintain our bilateral relations. Chinese and Indian media have different cultural backgrounds, perspectives, as well as reporting methods. This, I believe, is completely understandable. However, all media should report truthfully, objectively, and fairly. The media should report more on the two countries' efforts to enhance communication and mutual trust, as well as on the efforts to push forward pragmatic cooperation, and on the efforts to expand cultural exchanges and deepen mutual understanding and trust, on the efforts to care about each other's concerns and properly handle complicated issues. The media should, in this way, instill more positive energy into the healthy development of bilateral relations. I believe in the world there are no two other countries that are like China and India, which have made unique contributions to the mankind with their great civilizations that have lasted thousands of years. China and India are connected by common mountains and rivers and have engaged in exchanges in various fields for more than 2 millennia. As early as the Han Dynasty and the Tang Dynasty, the Silk Road on the land and sea connected China and India. As two pearls in Asia, the Chinese civilization and Indian civilization are different from each other, yet they also share many similarities, and they have illuminated each other in history. Together, they have contributed to splendid Asian civilization. Over the past century, the destiny of the two countries has been linked ever closer. The Indian and Chinese people understood and supported each other in their respective pursuit of national independence and liberation. We saw many touching stories in this regard. Our two countries jointly advocated the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, which have become an important guidance for new type of international relations today. Mahatma Gandhi said that China and India are fellow travelers sharing weal and woe in a common journey. As fellow travelers, Chinese and Indian media have more reasons to engage in frequent exchanges to deepen the friendship between our two peoples and to jointly push ahead the strategic partnership between the two countries for the common interests of our two peoples. Let us work together for this great goal. I wish this forum a great success. Thank you.